I left my dad alone in this room for 10 minutes and now I have a whole ass tree. Hi guys, welcome back to a page in the chapter, or welcome if you are new here. My name is Paige. I read lots of books. I have kind of okay thoughts about them and then I share them with you guys. And it's December and it's Christmas and Taylor Swift just released a new album and everything is just And I was tagged by the Enchanted Reader to do this tag. She actually created this tag and she's tagged me in 2 tags now that are both just so good that I need to get them done, but Evermore had to come first. Evermore, as soon as I saw that I was tagged in this, I was like, right, all plans for today are out the window. I'm filming this tag. So you should definitely go and check out her channel and her version of this tag. Both will be tagged down below. And thank you very much for tagging me. So if you are new here and you are interested in sticking around, then do press that little red subscribe button. It would be really appreciated. I just hit 150 subscribers, which is absolutely insane. Thank you guys so much. Now we can talk about some Taylor Swift. So as far as Evermore goes, it is a top tier album, but I prefer folklore. The first time I listened to Evermore, I was like, I don't know if this is really for me. And then after 5 or so listens through, I do actually really love it. And my favourites right now are Gold Rush, because the beat of that song just makes me so happy. Willow, because it's just adorable. The That's My Man part just sends me. And I am particularly enjoying Long Story Short right now. Those are like my favourites, but there are plenty of others that I love. Yeah, I was definitely wrong to think that I didn't like it that much on the first listen through. So yes, now we can get on to the prompt. The first prompt is Willow, and that is a book that is a masterpiece. Now this would not be my channel if I didn't say The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue for this. I absolutely adored this book. It is so cozy and wonderful, and Addie is just such an amazing character. Like, she lives for 300 years just purely out of spite. There's some really complex relationships in that book, and Henry is just an absolute sweetheart. I don't think I've loved a character as much as I've loved Henry this year, so that book is truly a masterpiece, and I hope we see more books like that by V.E. Schwab. Champagne Problems is a book that caught me off guard. I really like this song, it's so sad. And a book that caught me off guard is The Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. I'd had this on my shelf for ages and I kind of just picked it up because I didn't have any other fantasy on my uni shelves at that point in time. So I picked it up and I gave it a read, and wow. I was not expecting that book to blow me away as much as it did. I'd heard people talking about this series before, but I just didn't expect it to be anything special, and then I was proven wrong. It really, really was. The next prompt is Gold Rush, which is my favourite song at the moment, and this prompt is a book that has gold on the cover. This is not strictly gold, but I think it works. And that is Starcross by Josephine Angelini. No one talks about this book on BookTube at the moment that I've seen, and this is quite possibly one of my favourite book series ever. Potentially my favourite book series ever. This is like a fantasy Greek myth retelling that is like a fantasy romance. It's just everything in one and it really pulls it off, and I really, really love this book and I will take any excuse to talk about it. So this is, you know, kind of gold. Yellowy, orangey gold, but gold nonetheless. And the prompt for 'Tis the Damn Season is a wintry or Christmassy book. I have chosen The Afterlife of Holly Chase for this. I have not read this, but I really, really, really want to. I'm just begging everyone at the moment to like buddy read this with me so I have the motivation to go and buy the book. This is essentially a Christmas Carol retelling where Holly Chase is visited by the 3 ghosts and she decides that she's not going to change her ways, she's going to continue to be very Scrooge-esque, and then she dies. And it's about her afterlife, and I'm guessing she has some kind of realization and character growth in her afterlife. And the prompt for Tolerate It is a problematic book, and for that I have chosen the Twilight series because it is extremely problematic. It's not very feminist at all. We have a very weak female character. We have quite a misogynistic male character, and we have some pretty bad race representation. Tolerate It kind of made me think like problematic book that I can tolerate. It's problematic and awful, but it brings me joy. The next song on the album is Nobody No Crime, and I love this song and I love how the community is kind of banded together over this song. It is a huge fan favourite. And so the prompt for this, a mystery crime solving-esque book, and for this I have once again chosen a book that I have not read but really want to, and that is Truly Devious series. series. This series kind of takes place, I believe, at a pretentious boarding school, and part of this school's history is that someone went missing, and at the time that our main character joins the school, one of her classmates goes missing, and it is about her trying to solve this mystery. It is about her kind of trying to solve this ancient mystery as well as this modern one and seeing how the two intertwine. And I've heard so many people say really good things about it, and people that I really trust too, so I want to pick this one up. The next song on the track list is Happiness, which is not a happy song, but it is a hopeful song, and thus the prompt is a song about hope. There are plenty that I could think of for this. I actually really wanted to mention The Midnight Library, but I've mentioned that too much. So the book that I'm going to use instead is The Unexpected Everything. I love Morgan Matson so much, and this is my favourite Morgan Matson, quite possibly because it includes A Great Pyrenees, but you know, we'll pretend that it's for some other valid reason. And this book is about a young girl, and she kind of has her whole life planned ahead of her. She wants to go to medical school. She's been accepted onto a super prestigious summer course, except her dad is a politician and he has a bit of a downfall, and because of his downfall her entire plan falls through. It's about her reconnecting with her friends and her father, and Morgan Matson books in general, they don't necessarily have happy endings, but they have very hopeful ones, and this really exemplifies that. I love this book so much. The next prompt is Dorothea, which is a book to movie adaptation, and for this I have chosen The Hunger Games because I think this is one of the few YA adaptations that is done really, really well. The movie is just as fantastic as the book, and I rarely think that, so I kind of had to choose this. The next prompt is Coney Island, which is a book that brings back memories, and it just has to be City of Bones. I have such strong memories of me and my best friend reading this, going and seeing the movie, being completely obsessive about every single book in the Shadowhunters universe. I once got in really big trouble because I went to school with like my arms plastered and drawn on runes. I was just absolutely obsessed with this series, and it brings back a lot of happy memories for me. The song Ivy has been taken to represent a guilty pleasure book, and so my guilty pleasure series is the Half-Blood series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I have not finished it because it became really difficult to track down the rest of the books in the series in the UK, but I really, really love this, and I definitely want to try more of Jennifer L. Armentrout since I enjoyed this so much. So this is again a mythology retelling about gods and mortals and half-bloods, and I believe it takes place in like some kind of half-blood school setting, and this is a romance about our main character Alex, and she has a bit of a crush on a pureblood, which is deeply forbidden, and forbidden love plus mythology, you can tell why I love it. Cowboy Like Me is probably my least favourite song on the album right now. I just really do not vibe with this song at all. And the prompt for this is a book that I didn't expect to love but did, or a book that took you by surprise. And this is most definitely Sweet Evil by Wendy Higgin. This book just really, really took me by surprise. I expected it to be quite trashy, and I guess in some ways it was, but in a really enjoyable way. And I read this only a couple years ago, so it's not even like it was 13-year-old me trash. 19-year-old me loved it too. So this is another fantasy that follows the 7 deadly sins, and the 7 deadly sins have children, and they are basically really evil to their children, and they just send their children out to do their bidding, except the children are kind of sick of doing their bidding. It follows the children of the 7 deadly sins and how they don't want to be the way they are. Long story short, as I said, is such a fun song. Every time that comes on I start like doing a little jig around my room. And the prompt for this is a short story or a book that is under 300 pages, and I have chosen Stardust by Neil Gaiman. As I said in my last video, I actually haven't read this yet. I am waiting for the absolute perfect cozy night to whack this out, but this is less than 200 pages. It's going to be a really, really short, fun read, and the movie is so magical and wintry and cozy that I just really cannot wait to fall into the book. And I know the book is aimed at an older audience, so I'm excited to see how that plays out. The prompt for the song Marjorie is to give a biography recommendation. I don't read biographies. I do not have a single biography on my shelf, nor do I know of one that I could give you. However, I do read a lot of memoirs, and so I'm going to give a memoir recommendation. That memoir recommendation is going to be Talking as Fast as I Can by Lauren Graham. I actually haven't talked about this one before, and I also haven't read it. This is Lauren Graham's memoir of working on Gilmore Girls, and especially the Year in the Life reunion, and it's a lot of behind the scenes tales and just really sweet, cute things like that. I absolutely adore Gilmore Girls. It is quite possibly my favourite show on earth. It just makes me feel so cozy and at home, and so I really would like to read Lauren Graham's book, especially the audiobook. Lauren Graham narrates it herself, so I am just kind of waiting for one of those days when I really need a pick-me-up and I can just have Lauren Graham talking to me about my favourite show. So for the song Closure, I need to pick my favourite last book in a series. I knew what book I was going to pick as soon as I saw this prompt, and that is Clockwork Princess. The Infernal Devices trilogy is by far my favourite Shadowhunters book. Cassandra Clare writes historical fantasy really well, and one of the things that I absolutely adore about this series is that there is a love triangle, but it's not a hate-filled love triangle. Jem and Will are best friends in the entire world, and they genuinely want what's best for each other, and most of the discourse surrounding the love triangle in this series is them trying not to hurt each other, which I just thought was so nice and wonderful. This is one of the first books where I remember just sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. I know a lot of people think that the ending of this is a bit of a cop-out. I don't. I think it works really well for Tessa's personality, and it just made me cry so much in like the best way, and it still genuinely kind of hurts me to think about, so I had to choose this as an ending. It's probably the best one for me just for sentimental purposes, but this is my video so I can do that. That's the joy. And so the last song on the album so far, because we haven't got the bonus tracks yet, is Evermore. This is a truly heartbreaking but also very hopeful song. And so the prompt for this is a book that was really difficult to get through. I like the ambiguity of this question and that you can just give a book that was awful and you hated getting through, or a book that broke you and was difficult to get through. I kind of went with the broke me line of thinking, and I really wanted to say Clockwork Princess again, but I haven't. I found another book that absolutely broke me, and that is Champion by Mary Lou. This is the last book in the Legend trilogy, and this book hurts so much. Nothing really ends well for any of the characters, but it also kind of does. This is the book that was very difficult for me to get through because I just wanted to make it right for the characters that I had grown to love, and I couldn't. But I really recommend this series if you haven't read it. And so that is my Evermore book tag. I absolutely adore this album, and I'm literally just gonna go blast it right now. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to the Enchanted Reader for tagging me. I will link her video and her channel down below. If you would like to do this tag, then I am tagging you. Do it if you want to do it. It's a really fun tag, and I think the prompts are really creative, so you should do it. Thank you so much for watching this video, especially if you made it this far. It is so appreciated. If you did make it this far, you may as well subscribe. Why not? The big red button that is staring you in the face, you should click it. It would be appreciated. Let me know your favourite Evermore tracks down below and we can have a chat about Taylor Swift, and I will see you on Friday for my next video. Bye guys.